All right, Corporal Mejia, if you would just state your name and spell your last name for the court reporter, please.
Michael Mejia, last name is spelled M-E-J-I-A.
All right. Corporal Mejia, where do you currently work?
The Greenwood County Sheriff's Office.
All right. How long have you worked there?
I've been employed there since September of 2016.
Where are you originally from?
Originally from California.
All right. And you ended up in South Carolina, correct?
Yes.
Well, how was that?
First time I visited Greenwood in 2016, there was a barbecue festival and gas was under $2 a gallon. So I figured this is a pretty good place to be.
And so you came here in 2016, correct?
Yes, sir.
And is Greenwood County Sheriff's Office your first job in law enforcement?
Yes.
All right. And what different jobs have you had at the department since you've worked there?
When I first started, like I said, in September of 2016, that was in the detention center. I was a detention officer up until about July of 2018. Then went to the academy and... When
you say the academy, what's that?
Excuse me, the South Carolina Criminal Justice Academy, or the Police Academy.
Where's that located?
Columbia, South Carolina. At that point, I transferred to the Uniform Patrol Division, worked as a Uniform Patrol Deputy from...
And let me stop you there. Just briefly describe to the jurors what the day-to-day duties of a patrol deputy are.
Yeah, so as a Uniform Patrol Deputy, you respond to calls for service. Uniform Patrol simply means that you're in the standard Sheriff's Office uniform, drive a marked patrol car. In this case, I was assigned a patrol zone, which is typical of any type of uniform patrol operations. I was in that job till about May of 2020. At that point, I was assigned to the crime reduction unit. Still retained a uniform and a marked patrol car. However, I had investigative duties at the time. One thing that I specifically worked on was vehicle crimes, but I also still assisted shifts for calls. Primarily responded to more critical type incidents such as shootings, significant traffic collisions involving significant injuries or fatalities, any other type of call where more hands on deck were needed. Stayed in that position till June of 2021, at which point I was assigned to the K-9 unit, which is what I'm currently working in right now.
Okay. And what is the K-9 unit?
We have 3 K-9s here in Greenwood County. 2 are patrol, 1 is a narcotics detection K-9. When I say a patrol K-9 is a dual-purpose K-9. It's trained to track and find humans as well as detect narcotic odors. That is what my dog does.
What's your dog's name?
Maverick.
What kind of dog is it?
He's actually a cross between a German Shepherd and a Belgian Malinois. He's a pretty interesting little dog. He weighs 70 pounds, and I know a lot of people say that's not little, but our other dog is over 100. So.
And is he one of the dual-purpose dogs that you described?
Correct.
And the early morning hours of May 7th, 2023, were you performing your regular duties as a K-9 officer?
I was.
And what would that generally include?
So whenever I work with the uniform patrol shifts, my job is to assist them in whatever they need. Usually it can be anything from narcotics detection sniff on a traffic stop to finding things like evidence. So if somebody took off running, tried to discard something like a firearm or a cell phone, something like that. Or if the charge is severe enough, let's say a significant felony, if somebody were to try and conceal themselves either in a building or in the woods, the dog is actually able to track them down and apprehend them should they become violent.
So you would respond to significant calls while you're on your normal shift as a K-9 officer?
Correct.
And just for clarity's sake, on the morning hours of May 7th of 2023, did you have occasion to use your dog or to sniff anything or to track anything?
No.
Okay. And so you were there more as a responder to the incident scene at Avid and Sawgrass, is that correct?
Correct.
All right, so let's talk about that. Do you recall about what time the call came out that caused you to respond to the intersection at Avid and Sawgrass?
I believe it was approximately 1:43 in the morning.
And you recall, were you the first law enforcement responder at that location?
I was.
And who was there when you first arrived that you can recall?
I arrived pretty much simultaneously with other first responders, to include fire and I believe just initial EMTs.
And as part of your normal duties, do you wear a body cam?
Yes,
And is it procedure or policy, to turn that body cam on when you respond to significant incidents?
yes,
And did you turn it on the early morning hours of May 7th when you responded to Avid and Sawgrass?
yes.
And before we go further on that, let me ask you this. When you first responded, did you observe a BMW vehicle?
Yes,
Okay. And we'll talk about that more in a minute. And did you also observe a body?
yes,
Were both of those locations located, and are they located in Greenwood County?
yes,
Okay. All right, so your body cam was on when you first pulled up, correct?
correct.
And it remained on for approximately how long that morning?
I would say at least 4 hours,
Okay. Continuously?
continuously.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 16. Take a look at that. It's a DVD. Do you recognize that DVD, sir?
Yes, sir, I do.
And what is contained on that DVD?
That is a copy of the body cam footage that was worn on my person.
All right. And you've reviewed that, correct?
Yes,
And is it you said it was on for probably close to 4 hours. Is the full 4 hours on that DVD?
no,
Right. So it's been cut down for time
Correct.
significantly, correct?
yes, sir.
And we'll get back into detail what you did throughout the night, but you first responded to Avid and Sawgrass, correct?
Correct.
And then we'll talk about why in a little bit, but where did you go next in that early morning hours?
After Avid and Sawgrass, I proceeded to 1714 Old Abbeville Highway.
All right, and we'll talk about the significance of that, but were you at that location for several hours?
Yes,
All right. And this body cam is recorded not only you at Avid and Sawgrass, but it also recorded your actions at the, what was that address again?
1714 Old Abbeville Highway.
Is that correct?
Yes,
And, Your Honor, at this time, State would move to enter State's Exhibit 16 into evidence, subject to the defense's previous objections.
Any additional objections, Mr. Swirling? Okay.
And this is, as I stated, this is a edited version in terms both for the court rulings and just simply for length.
Right. 16 in evidence for the state.
And with your permission, Judge, we'd like to
Sure.
to publish it to the jury.
Yes, sir.
And yeah, go ahead. Okay. Before we hit play, what do we see in your camera? First of all, this is your camera, correct?
correct.
And where are you looking right now?
So I am standing in the intersection of Avid Road and Sawgrass Place. So I'm actually standing on what would be Avid Road, looking towards that gate that you can see with the reflectors on it.
So you're looking straight up Avid Road towards the end?
Correct.
And I see some headlights facing back towards you. Do you see that, sir?
Yes.
And what are those headlights?
They're the headlights to a BMW sedan.
Okay. And we see to the right what looks like a fire truck, correct?
Correct.
All right. And so this is simply you walking up for the first time to this incident location. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead and hit play.
Romeo 974.
Okay, pause. And, okay, so we've got to look at that BMW on the left as you walked up, correct?
Correct.
And on the right, there's another vehicle now. Do you see that, sir?
Yes.
Do you recall what kind of vehicle that was?
Believe it is a Ford, either an Escape or Explorer. It's a small SUV.
And of course, you being on the incident location tonight, did you identify whose vehicle that belonged to?
Yes.
Do you recall who that belonged to?
If I recall correctly, it was Miss McGovern's.
And in the distance, and you'll walk closer in a second, but in the distance, we see a couple things to the right side of the screen now, correct?
Correct.
All right. And describe the juror what you see on the right side in the distance beyond that forward escape.
So looking at the picture, if you were to look just in front of the Ford Escape, it appears to be some type of object on the ground. And then beyond that, another larger object.
And 1028 Whiskey Echo Victor 253.
All right, and we saw you look back towards the BMW, correct?
Correct.
And you pulled a license plate. Were you reading out the license plate of that vehicle?
Yes, sir.
All right, and why were you doing that?
It's typical when arriving on scenes, you try and gather as much information as you can, usually anything identifying in nature to vehicles that may or may not be involved. That could be vehicles involved in a wreck, vehicle that somebody was driving by when they were a witness, just any type of information that could potentially be useful.
And before we go too much further, as you walked by that BMW, what did you observe about it?
I noticed there was some pretty significant damage to the front left, or what would be the driver's front wheel. So much to the point where it would be extremely difficult to move the vehicle or drive it safely.
Okay, and I'm going to show you, it's already been entered in evidence, State's Exhibit. All right, 3. And would that fairly represent the damage you saw in that BMW that night?
Yes.
Okay. And let's just put it up real quick. And we're just showing this to the jury on the overhead. And as you said, that's the damage that you observed on the BMW as you walked past it.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, now, you're now past the Ford Escape and the BMW, correct?
Correct.
And you're now looking at what in the distance?
So in the distance, I can see somebody standing upright and also what appears to be the body of a human being laying flat on his back. Excuse me.
And did you know, as you're walking up, did you know the person who was standing over the body at this point?
No, I have not identified them yet.
Okay. Did you later identify who that was?
Yes.
Who was that?
That would have been Miss McGovern.
Okay. All right. Pause. Back up about 5 seconds. Okay, that's probably good. And what time is this? Oh, hit play. Hit play. Pause. Okay, and we're now at about 21 seconds into the video. And what do we see? We describe to jurors what you see in your body cam here, and what you observed that night as well.
So when I walk up at this point, I see a white male laying on his back, shirtless. He's missing one shoe. It appears that he has significant injuries to what would be his chest and his head. Specifically, I noted bleeding from the ears, and I believe there was blood coming out of his mouth too. It did not appear that he was breathing.
And we see what I think you identified as Miss McGovern on the left-hand side of the video at this point, correct?
Correct.
And we see somebody down kneeling over the body, is that correct?
Correct.
And what is that person doing?
That is one of the first responders with, I believe, the fire department beginning to render aid.
Okay. Keep playing. All right, and so describe the jurors, now that you've observed this body and the damage on the vehicle, what are you doing at this point?
In light of the information that I had received in responding, which was this is a vehicle versus pedestrian, I'm trying to figure out which vehicle may have struck this person and how that possibly could have happened. I figured that it was most likely not the BMW that struck him due to the damage to the BMW and also the way it was facing. So there was another vehicle that struck him. I was also looking back at the Ford SUV, noting that there was no damage to it. So there's a vehicle that is unaccounted for.
So you came to the conclusion that you didn't think the Ford was involved, correct?
No, not in the collision.
What did you do next?
Continued to just look around more. At this point, I noticed that there's oil on the ground. I'm also still trying to take into account who all is present at the scene and to what extent they're involved.
Okay. And pause the video real quick. And we're not going to rewind it at this point, but as you were walking down Abbott Lane towards the BMW, did you have any trouble observing it?
No.
Was its headlights on?
Bright headlights were on.
All right. You said bright. Do you think that the bright lights were on, or can you recall?
Every time I've been in or around a BMW, the headlights are bright, so I couldn't really tell if they were the high beams or low beams. But
Okay. All right. Keep going. And on the right-hand side of the video, we see a vehicle with flashers on, correct?
correct.
And what vehicle is that?
That's the BMW.
Okay. Pause it. And Corporal Mejia, at this point, have you identified Ms. McGovern at this point? You said you did at some point.
It's not at this point. I think I'm still relaying information to dispatch to give to a medic unit, or in other words, an ambulance that is staged. I'm telling them they need to go ahead and come in, and then also directing other law enforcement personnel to my location.
Okay. And at some point, did you identify who the occupants of that Ford were when you first got there?
Yes, at some point I did.
And was Ms. McGovern one of the occupants?
Yes.
Do you recall who else was in that vehicle when you first showed up?
I believe Meredith Ackerman and Drew Strickland.
Okay. And we're not going to talk about what they told you, but did you have occasion to interview Ms. McGovern?
I did.
All right. Did you interview any of the other two females?
No, I did not.
Okay. All right. Hit play. And we see some individuals running in your camera field of view. Who are those folks?
I believe those are the personnel of the medic unit or the ambulance.
Okay. And are they continuing to try to render assistance to the body?
Yes.
And did you later learn who that body was?
Yes.
Who was that?
Davis McClendon.
Pause. Okay. As you said a few minutes ago, you said you interviewed Ms. McGovern. Is that correct?
Correct.
As a result of that, what next steps in your actions that night did you decide to take?
I learned that
Where did you decide to respond next, sir?
1714 Old Abbeville Highway.
Okay. What's the significance of that location?
I learned that that's where a Mr. Bud Ackerman may be located, along with his vehicle.
And did you learn later, or did you know that night whose actual house that was or is?
I ended up learning later that night.
Whose house? Who owned that residence?
I believe that was William Gray Ackerman, if I'm saying the name correctly, Bud's father.
Okay. And so you drove, and what was the address again?
1714 Old Abbeville Highway.
All right. And how far is that from the intersection of Abbott and Sawgrass?
Just over half a mile.
Okay. And we see and did you see, or excuse me, your body cam footage is now inside your patrol vehicle, is that correct?
Correct.
All right. Hit play.
Affirmative, myself and 316 are gonna put that over there, see the vehicles there.
House that he's supposed to be in with the kids is
1714.
Are you in there now?
Yes.
I'll head with you.
No, stay here. Yates and I are gonna be over here, or Yates and I are gonna go over there, we're gonna see if the car's there. Negative, we're gonna go see if we can find a vehicle there. So we'll open this off, because this is gonna be a crime scene.
All right.
Better just sing, I'm getting that ambulance. I'm about to pull right through there.
State. And is this you leaving Abbott and Sawgrass at this point
Yes.
and responding to, was it 1714?
Correct.
Old Abbeville?
Correct.
All right. Keep on. Play.
The house is right here, you're probably only a couple hundred yards down. Right here. Paper. Ground Kilo 2, myself, 316, 373, yeah, 1714 Old Abbeville Highway.
State. And are you now pulling into the driveway of 1714 Old Abbeville?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And while parts of your footage, you said there's 4 hours, there's parts that aren't going to be on this edited version. Was what the jury just viewed between you driving or leaving Abbott and Sawgrass and pulling into the driveway, was that a complete video, at least between those two times?
Yes.
And so you said that's about half a mile apart, correct?
Correct.
Okay. What, if anything, did you observe on your way driving from Abbott and Sawgrass to 1714 Abbeville Highway? Old Abbeville, excuse me.
Appeared to be a trail of fluid in the roadway.
Okay. And where did that fluid go to?
It went into the driveway of 1714 Old Abbeville Highway.
And did you continue to see that fluid all the way up the driveway at that residence?
I did.
And where did you see that fluid go to once you pulled up in the driveway?
It continued to the left side of, the driveway continuing around the left side of the house, and then ended underneath a white Ford F-250 pickup.
Okay.
Confirming Abbott and Sawgrass, that intersection still in Greenwood County, correct?
Possibly. And I think you just told the jury about seeing the white truck, correct?
Correct.
What else are you observing at this location as you get out of your patrol vehicle?
When I exit my patrol vehicle, one of the first things I always look at is potential points of danger. So one thing that I do spot is a wide open garage or carport, and I can see two individuals standing inside the carport.
Okay. And did you later identify who those two individuals were?
Yes.
Who were they?
It was William Bud Ackerman and William Gray Ackerman, who is Bud's father.
Okay. And so William Gray Ackerman is Bud's father?
Correct.
All right. And do you see Bud in the courtroom at this point?
I do.
All right. Can you point him out?
Seated right over there.
All right. And if the record reflects, it's the gentleman with the blue blazer and a shirt with no tie.
Okay, so noted, the witness has identified the defendant.
All right. And Mr. Bud Ackerman was the individual standing with his father in the garage as you pulled up, correct?
Correct.
All right.
Double arrested. Garage is open.
Are you moving towards that garage at this point?
I am, yes.
Are there some kids here? Yeah. Okay, whose kids are they?
Apostate. And, okay, so the individual on the left, we see in your video, who is that?
William Bud Ackerman.
All right, and that's the individual we just pointed out, correct?
Correct.
And to, at least in the video's perspective, to our right, who is that?
His father.
And was there anybody else, at least outside at this point, that you observed?
Not at this time.
Okay. And you were asking Mr. Bud Ackerman, what questions you just asked him?
I was asking if there were children present at that residence.
Okay. Hit play.
Yours and who?
My wife.
Okay. Let me ask you this. Can I get you to step with me over here for me, please? You have your ID on you?
I do not.
Okay. Just step over here for me.
Apostate. All right, so you asked him about the children, correct?
Correct.
Why did you ask him that?
I learned through Miss McGovern that the children of both Meredith and Bud were at the residence at 1714 Old Abbeville Highway.
Okay. And did you determine, along with your superior Sheriff's Office, take action in regard to those children?
Yes, it was relayed to us that Meredith wanted to have her children with her, so we facilitated that.
Okay, what did you do to facilitate that?
Entered the residence along with Bud's father, William Gray Ackerman Sr., who is the owner of the residence, and escorted the children out.
Okay, and where did you escort them to?
It would have been to, I believe it was Meredith's parents' vehicle. They picked them up from the residence.
So after you did that, what happened next in terms of your presence at this residence on the early morning hours of May 7th, 2023?
Basically waited for investigators with the sheriff's office to obtain a search warrant for the Ford pickup and for the residence.
Okay. And after a search warrant was obtained, what did you do?
I assisted with whatever was needed by other investigators as far as collecting evidence or documenting that scene.
And did you, in fact, go back inside the Ackerman residence later on that morning?
I did.
Okay. And was your body cam recording then too?
Yes, it was.
Okay. Did you have a chance to go up and inspect the white Ford truck, sir?
I did.
And was your body cam recording then?
It was.
Okay. Hit play. Pause tape real quick. And is this the garage where you saw the two Ackerman gentlemen standing when you first approached the residence?
It was.
Okay. Play. Pause tape. And we see the gentleman on your left, who is another deputy, correct?
Correct.
Who was that?
It's Investigator Patrick Parker.
Okay. And we see him bending down and putting something on the ground, correct?
Yes.
What is he doing?
We had located footprints that appeared to be going from the area of the driveway into the residence in what looked like oil. So he's putting down evidence markers that contain a number and a small ruler, basically to mark those.
He's
those
putting down
footprints.
evidence markers beside what looks like footprints.
Correct.
And they were leading inside the residence, correct?
Correct.
Play.
Just fine.
Yeah. There's a cigarette.
With, has he got a little stiff on it?
Yep.
Possibly. You've made a point of observing a cigarette, is that correct?
It was a cigarette butt.
All right. And where did you observe that?
That would have been in the driveway directly out front of what would be where the garage door would be.
Okay. And now we've moved forward to a different part, probably sometime later in your time there, correct?
Correct.
And we now see in the left-hand field of view, it looks like a white truck, is that correct?
Correct.
And is that the white truck where you saw the vehicle fluids leading to as you pulled into the driveway of the Ackerman residence?
That's correct.
Okay. Good play.
That's wild.
Yeah, that's when I walked up and I was like, oh yeah. What got moving?
Okay, pause tape. All right, and you said something about that's wild as you were walking up to the truck, correct?
Correct.
What were you observing that made you say that?
There was a very significant dent in what would have been the top ridge at the very front of the hood. You can actually see it in the video. Larger Ford trucks, the F-250 and up, have Super Duty written across the hood, and the dent is.
No, I have to object to any testimony about the dent or him reaching some conclusion or something like that.
Don't render any opinions. You can testify as what you observed, but don't render any opinions about what you observed, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right.
The dent was where the word duty was written on the truck.
And did you observe anything on the grill at this point? Just what you observed?
Just looked to be something like a circular type smudge.
Okay. All right. Hit play. Okay, and you're still looking at the front of this vehicle, right?
Correct.
And we're at 8:05 in the video. Yep. All right, hit play.
Because you see the,
Yeah, yeah.
that's a palm mark. But like that right there.
And pause.
Yeah. There's,
We heard you say something about a palm mark. Is that, did I understand that correctly?
Yeah, something like a palm
What do you
marker.
mean by a palm mark?
Like somebody was,
Your Honor, I'd like to just review the objection I made in limine about that.
Just testify as far as what you observed on the truck, but don't render any opinions to follow up.
Okay. All right. And what, was it a smudge of some sort?
I don't recall exactly, but I remember seeing it look like a hand.
Was it in the shape of a hand from
Correct.
your observation?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
little specks right there.
Pause. We're going to back up a little bit here. And right there, let's see right here. And you can kind of make it out in this video, but you described it a second ago. You saw a dent where the word Super Duty was, correct?
Correct.
And we see the word duty on the front top of that hood of that truck, correct?
Correct.
And the dent that you described a minute ago, where we see the letters D-U-T-Y, where is it in those letters?
If you're looking at the word, reading it from left to right, it would be starting about the left side of the U and continuing to the T.
Okay. Now, how tall are you, Corporal Mejia?
6'2".
Okay. And I'm just asking about your observation, not asking you to make any conclusions whatsoever. As you were standing next to the truck that night, and you're 6'2", about where did that dent come on your torso?
Would have been probably just under my chin.
Okay. All right. All right, hit play.
But yeah, that damage right there is gonna be the,
What went under it?
Apostate? And you were just describing of what? And back it up just so they can see. See, we're now at about 8:36, and you're in the this body cam video. You just were circling something in your flashlight, correct?
Correct.
What were you observing at this point on that truck?
That is damage located underneath the driver's side headlight on what would be the driver's side of the bumper,
Okay. And was it more towards the side or more towards the front of the
more
bumper?
towards the side.
Okay. In front of the tire there?
Yes.
All right. And to the best of your recollection, this isn't the best video, but what did that damage look like? Was it a scrape, a dent, or what was it?
It looked like it was a scrape in a line.
Okay. Okay, play.
What went under it?
so, footprints,
Positive. All right, and you're now entering the Ackerman residence, correct?
Correct.
And this is sometime earlier, later in the morning of May 7th, correct?
Correct.
And I keep hearing you say the words footprints, or excuse me, the word footprints. Why are you saying that, and who are you saying it to?
I don't recall exactly which investigator is behind me. It's either Investigator Durkin or Investigator Parker, but I am using my flashlight and calling out footprints as I see them on the floor.
And earlier you described some footprints in the garage, correct?
Correct.
And you described those as potentially being in some sort of oily substance?
Correct.
Is that the same, are the footprints that you see inside, are they consistent with the footprints you saw in the garage?
Yes.
And the investigators who behind you, who you're pointing this out to, why are you pointing the footprints out to that person?
This would be the first time they've entered the residence and are seeing them.
And to your knowledge, what do they intend to do after you pointed them out?
They're going to place evidence markers and also take photographs.
footprints. That's the door I came in. So we're still oily footprints. Oily footprints. Saw that, didn't know what that was from. You have another one right there.
And you see, what is that laying on the ground that you said you didn't know what it was?
I believe it's a towel. The reason I don't call it a towel is I don't know what it was used for. I don't know if it was to.
And at least in terms of your participation in this case, have you ever determined exactly what that was or what it is used for?
No, sir.
Okay. Keep going.
There. Yeah. And another one right there. Mama's.
Apostate. We just saw two people there. Who were they?
The one in black is Investigator Patrick Parker, and the one wearing the green is Investigator Patrick Durkin.
And what would their roles have been this morning in the house, Ackerman House?
Documentation of the scene by photographs and evidence collection.
Keep going.
I don't know what that towel is from.
Well, there's another part. You came from the scene.
Yep. Okay, yeah.
There's nothing wet.
So mom was at the sink.
There's a little bit of moisture, there's a little bit of water right there.
Mom was at the sink a good bit.
Okay.
So
was he?
I don't know what all he did, or she did, I should say.
And pause tape. And was that Investigator Parker who was looking at the sink?
Correct.
And what we heard on the camera anyway, he said something about moisture in the sink.
Correct.
And you said something about seeing somebody there, or I think you said mama? What did you say?
So when I initially entered the house for the purposes of escorting the children out, I remember seeing Mrs. Ackerman at the scene.
Okay, all right, good point.
Get that footprint there.
And pause tape. And just for clarity's sake, that would have occurred probably at least a couple hours before this portion of the review.
Correct.
Is that correct? Okay.
And get
All right, here's another one, Durkee.
yeah, and then right in front of you. I mean, like, right.
Yeah.
Pause tape. And when you're pointing at the ground and saying there's another one, you're referring to a footprint, correct?
Correct.
I didn't even realize where there's a smudged one. All right, here's one on the rug. Yes.
My impression was that she was thinking about that. I don't know.
That one's weird, because that one's going that way. All right, so there's another one.
there and one there.
Yep, there's those two. You almost have to shine at an angle.
There's one there.
All right, here they go. Right there.
Is that where you get a kind of the whole scene right there? There's
Yep,
kind of multiple right here.
they're all right in here.
See if there's a bathroom in there.
There's, yep, bathroom right there. All right, they go in here.
So this is parents' room.
Is this parents' room?
Yes.
Okay.
They're all right here.
No, they're still coming into here. Yeah.
Smudged all around here too.
So the last one I saw was,
There's a twist there, one here, this bunch, yeah, bunch right here.
And again, these are all footprints, all,
Yeah.
you're observing this point, you're talking all about footprints, correct?
Correct.
I didn't see any more in there. But someone's on the CPAP.
I'm pretty sure it's gonna be the shoe that he's got on now.
Yeah.
But we can get those from the jail. Are there sharpies here? Yeah, there will be, yeah.
So I guess you didn't come upstairs.
You definitely see on this one.
Yep.
Okay. And that's the end of this body cam, is that correct, Corporal Mejia?
Correct.
And at the very end there, you appear to be climbing some stairs, correct?
Correct.
And you made a comment about, what was the comment you made there at the very end?
I believe he didn't come upstairs.
Why didn't you believe that?
Initially, when I went inside the house to escort the children out, I had to go upstairs, which is where the children were in their bedrooms, excuse me. Did not see any footprints at that time, and then upon entering the house with investigators pursuant to the search warrant, just reiterated that I did not see any footprints.
Did you see
going
any
up the stairs.
footprints going up the stairs?
No, not going
Did you
up the
see
stairs.
any footprints upstairs at all?
No.
And you saw numerous ones downstairs though, correct?
Correct.
Back to court's indulgence.
Sure.